My husband is an artist, a sculptor, and was accommodating to and understanding of. We lived an extremely anomalous life.
Meryl Streep divorced her husband immediately after this happened. Meryl's decision to step away from her decades-long marriage wasn't just another celebrity headline. It reverberated across Hollywood, sending fans and the media into a frenzy. But the story behind it, what really happened, what emotions were at play, and what this meant for both Meryl and her family, is a story that demands more than a quick scroll through gossip columns. It's a tale that will redefine how the world remembers one of its most iconic couples. For 6 quiet, carefully guarded years, Meryl Streep kept the truth about her separation from Don Gummer completely out of the spotlight. And then, on what would have been their 45th anniversary, she finally confirmed it. No explosive scandal, no tabloid frenzy, just a calm, controlled revelation, which somehow made it hit even harder. This wasn't just another celebrity breakup buried in headlines. This was the silent unraveling of a marriage the world believed was unbreakable. A relationship once seen as one of Hollywood's strongest hadn't just ended. It had slowly frozen over behind closed doors, away from the cameras. So what could drive one of the most private women in entertainment to break that silence? Why speak out now after so many years? With just one carefully chosen statement, a love story that had stretched across nearly 40 decades seemed to fade in real time, right in front of a stunned public. But what most people didn't see was the road that led to that moment. A series of deeply personal, life-altering decisions only Meryl herself could make. And the beginning of that story goes all the way back to 1978, at a time when her heart was still trying to survive unbearable loss. Only months after laying to rest the man she once described as the love of her life, actor John Cazale, Meryl found herself standing at an emotional crossroads. Still in the depths of grief, still trying to rebuild herself piece by piece, she accepted a proposal from Don Gummer. Not because the world demanded it, not because it was perfect, but because she needed stability in a world that had just collapsed around her. She moved into his home, seeking peace instead of publicity, and they were married almost immediately, far away from the chaos of Hollywood glamour. Unlike her, Don Gummer lived on the opposite side of fame. He wasn't drawn to movie lights or flashing cameras. 6 years older than Meryl, he never chased celebrity, never cared for premieres, and never built his identity around being seen. Where Meryl lived a life of scripts, sets, and awards, Don lived in clay and stone. He was a sculptor, an artist whose world revolved around his studio, his gallery, and a carefully protected private life, one that had no room for noise, only meaning. As her career exploded into its most demanding and celebrated era, he stepped further back. While she conquered Hollywood, he chose distance from it. During the busiest, most intense stretch of Meryl's rise, Gummer became the quiet anchor in their home. He managed life behind the scenes. He helped raise their children. He held the structure together while she lived in the spotlight. While millions watched her shine on screen, he embraced a life in the shadows, not out of resentment, but out of choice. A life centered on family, not fame. A life the public never truly saw, until now. Meryl Streep and Don Gummer had 4 children, Henry, Mary Grace, and Louisa. Yet almost nothing about their family ever reached the public eye. From the very start, they shared one unshakable rule: the family is not for public consumption. In a rare interview, Meryl confirmed this choice, revealing a commitment to privacy that has defined their lives. There were no explosive arguments captured by the press, no paparazzi photos of family drama. Their appearances at events were carefully measured. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Meryl almost always attended award ceremonies alone or accompanied only by her daughter. Don was there, quietly, usually seated in the back, almost invisible to the cameras. This wasn't a publicity strategy. It was a conscious decision to live life on their terms. Balancing two very different worlds, America's top movie star and a private, understated husband, required careful coordination, yet they made it look effortless. As Meryl once said, "Success comes easily and goes easily. What keeps me grounded is him." Don, for his part, has almost never spoken about his wife, their marriage, or their children. When the media did mention him, it was only fleeting, almost incidental. Their bond isn't built on grand gestures or public displays. It thrives in practical, everyday choices. Dividing household responsibilities, raising children, coordinating Meryl's filming schedule, and attending art exhibitions. Meryl works on set. Don attends exhibitions. Meryl tends to the children. Don supports from behind the scenes. When the kids grow older, both step back, allowing them to choose their own paths. This family operates like a well-oiled system, bound by a silent understanding of each person's role, fiercely shielding their private lives from the glare of media attention. What many don't realize is that despite being one of the most famous actors on the planet, Meryl Streep rarely opens up about her personal life, especially her marriage. And yet, it is this very discretion, that quiet, practical partnership, that has defined the love story far richer than any headline could ever capture. At the 2012 Oscars, when Meryl Streep finally held the golden statue for her unforgettable role as Margaret Thatcher, she opened her speech with a line that caught everyone off guard. "First of all, I want to thank Don, because if I leave it until the end, the background music will drown me out. Everything I cherish most in this life is brought by him." Those words weren't just gratitude. They were a subtle glimpse into a love story that was far from simple. Behind the glittering accolades and public admiration, Streep and Don Gummer were living a private truth. Years later, it became clear that their separation was not a dramatic spectacle, but a quiet, deliberate choice. There was no announcement, no bitter argument, no media circus, just a mutual decision to step away, silently, until the timing felt right. This was the art of the silent separation. Once hailed as Hollywood's emblem of enduring marriage, the couple gradually drifted out of the public spotlight together. By the mid-2010s, Don's presence beside Meryl had become rare. He no longer attended movie premieres, award shows, or charity events with her. Observers noticed subtle shifts, schedules that no longer overlapped, appearances that suggested two lives moving to entirely different rhythms. The separation unfolded quietly. Don immersed himself in his sculptures, while Meryl remained relentlessly busy with her acting career. Though they no longer shared the same home, their bond persisted through their children and family gatherings. And Meryl, she continued wearing her wedding ring, a detail that kept the illusion of marital normalcy alive for the public. In truth, the couple had chosen to live separately around 2017, maintaining a private boundary that the media and even fans never breached. Reflecting on that time, Meryl once said, "Every relationship needs a break." In her world, a break wasn't necessarily an ending. It was a way to breathe, to recalibrate. Don maintained ties with the family, but no longer joined Meryl on work trips. Both had agreed that their private life was theirs alone, and no one else would be part of it. The separation between Meryl Streep and Don Gummer didn't happen with headlines or tabloid drama. It was invisible, almost imperceptible. Those who worked closely with Meryl on major projects noticed nothing unusual. She remained the epitome of professionalism, never letting personal struggles seep into her work. That discretion is why no one suspected anything had changed. For 6 long years, from the moment she began living alone until the public confirmation, Meryl carried the image of a steadfast family woman, a wedding ring silently signaling a life untouched by turmoil. Meanwhile, Don retreated into his own world, immersing himself in his art in the quiet of his studio. He declined interviews and avoided the media spotlight, allowing the divide between their lives to grow almost invisibly. On one side was a legendary film career. On the other, a sculptor's secluded sanctuary. The separation was unspoken, but unmistakable in every detail. Different homes, separate routines, years without a shared family calendar. Yet, what makes this story extraordinary isn't distance or drift. It's the mutual respect that defined it. Meryl guarded every detail, shielding her children and keeping the private life of the family intact. Don's silence wasn't avoidance. It was loyalty to a life they once shared. There were no public arguments, no dramatic confrontations, no breaking news. Everything unfolded naturally, a quiet shift from a shared life to parallel paths. Relatives confirmed that they stayed in contact, attended important events together, and remained committed to family, even while living separately. And then came the moment the world finally learned the truth. On October 20th, 2023, Meryl Streep's official representative made a simple yet powerful statement. She and Don Gummer had been living apart for over 6 years. No sensationalism, no excuses, just a direct, decisive revelation, delivered exactly when few expected it. The revelation was brief, almost understated, but its weight was immense. What Meryl Streep confirmed in 2023 wasn't a sudden breakup. It was the quiet end of a life shared since 1979, a separation that had silently stretched on since 2017. Though they had always cherished each other, Meryl and Don Gummer had chosen to live apart, letting time quietly redefine their bond. There were no photos, no joint appearances, no statements to the press, only a single, definitive confirmation. And the timing made it impossible to ignore. It came on the 45th anniversary of their wedding. Earlier that year, in September, news outlets had celebrated the longevity of Streep and Gummer's marriage, sharing images that captured decades of life together. Even recent photos showed Meryl still wearing her wedding ring, reinforcing the illusion of stability in her private life. Yet just weeks later, the separation was confirmed, turning the milestone anniversary into an official farewell. This announcement lifted the veil on 6 years of secrecy. During that time, Meryl remained a constant presence on the red carpet. Awards, premieres, media interviews, projecting the image of a steady, thriving career. Don Gummer, by contrast, had completely receded from the public eye, absent from every film-related event, including appearances he had once attended as a guest. Throughout it all, neither side spoke of any change in their marital status. When the news finally broke in 2023, it was the first time the public learned that this quiet separation had been underway for years. True to her lifelong approach, Meryl Streep kept the matter strictly private, refusing to address the separation publicly, with her representatives steering interviews clear of any related questions. The announcement wasn't just a confirmation, it was a window into a life she had carefully protected from the glare of fame. Gummer, true to form, stayed completely silent. That silence stretched on until the official announcement was made. No personal comments, no reactions, nothing. Throughout the entire separation, Meryl Streep, ever the professional, continued attending major events with poise, projecting the stable, unshakable image the world had always known. From the Oscars to European film festivals, from glittering award shows to intimate ceremonies, she walked the red carpet with dignity, showing no hint that her private life was shifting. It was this steadfast professionalism, this refusal to let personal emotions interfere with her work, that allowed her to maintain her place at the very top of the industry, while shielding those around her from disruption. The timing of the announcement was telling. Just before returning to the hit TV series Only Murders in the Building, Streep confirmed her separation. Her first role back on the small screen coincides with a new chapter in life, a chapter defined not by marriage, but by independence, career focus, and personal reinvention at the age of 70. True to her style, the statement was short, precise, and utterly unambiguous. No blame, no emotional outpouring, no speculative explanations, just a clear acknowledgement of reality. After decades together, Streep and Gummer had chosen separate paths. From that moment, all eyes turned to Meryl. How is she living now? How is she working? Who fills her personal life beyond the marriage? Since confirming the separation, she has stepped fully into independence, attending events and pursuing projects without Gummer by her side. The announcement didn't just mark the end of a marriage, it closed the chapter on years of speculation, recasting her personal life in a new light. No longer simply the devoted wife, but a woman charting her own course on her own terms. Meryl Streep's public life has taken on a quietly bold new rhythm. In recent years, she's been appearing more frequently at international events, most notably during her role in Only Murders in the Building. This part marked a triumphant return after a stretch without a major project, and showcased a subtle but noticeable shift in her style. Calm and composed as ever, one detail caught everyone's eye. Her wedding ring was nowhere in sight. It's a small gesture, but a deeply symbolic one. A visual signal of her transformation from partner to independent individual. Meanwhile, Don Gummer remains firmly in his own artistic world. Since 2018, there have been no public meetings, no shared photos, nothing to suggest any ongoing connection between the two. Even as the father of 4 grown children, he maintains his distance from the media, while his sculpting career continues to draw professional attention separate from the life he once shared with Meryl. Sources say Meryl now spends most of her time in New York, a hub that suits both her work and television projects. Recently, she was spotted enjoying dinner with a close circle of friends, including actor Martin Short, her co-star from Only Murders in the Building. Observers noted their warm interactions on set and at behind-the-scenes gatherings, though insiders have not confirmed the exact nature of their relationship. Since the separation, Meryl's social appearances have consistently been with the same trusted group of friends, rarely family. Every event she attends, from honor ceremonies to press interviews, is guided by work, not personal obligations. Her measured control over her public image, combined with her calm confidence, makes it clear. Meryl has fully embraced life on her own terms. She no longer needs the role of wife to define her balance. She is standing independently, strong, and unshakably herself. Although she hasn't publicly shared the emotions of living separately from Don Gummer, her decision to confirm the truth now shows something powerful. She has accepted her new reality and is ready to redefine herself. Throughout her career, Meryl has drawn a clear line between work and private life. Even amid major personal changes, she never let them affect her professionalism. She continued delivering unforgettable performances and took part in critically acclaimed projects, proving that personal upheaval doesn't have to derail excellence. The couple's 4 children, Henry, Mary Grace, and Louisa, are now grown, working in the arts and media, yet they remain largely shielded from the public eye. This reflects a shared understanding between Meryl and Don, protecting their family above all. Even while living apart, they coordinate quietly to maintain their children's privacy, demonstrating that separation doesn't have to mean chaos. Today, both Meryl and Don are on separate paths, yet their respect for each other remains intact. There's no drama, no public spats, and no flashy displays of new relationships. Meryl has chosen a moderate pace in her career, focusing on quality over quantity, while Don continues on his path quietly, letting his work speak for itself. Their steadfastness isn't performative. It's rooted in decades of internal growth and the strong foundation Meryl built long before their separation. Meryl Streep has always been more than her public persona. Born in 1949 in New Jersey into a middle-class, academically inclined family, she first studied vocals before discovering her passion for theater at Vassar College. Then she honed her craft at Yale School of Drama, laying the groundwork for a career that would make her one of the most respected and enduring actresses in history. From the very first moment Meryl Streep stepped onto a Broadway stage, it was clear that she was no ordinary performer. Audiences didn't just see her, they felt her. She had an uncanny ability to vanish into her characters, reshaping her voice, her expressions, and even the very atmosphere around her. Every gesture, every glance carried weight. Her film breakthrough came in 1978 with The Deer Hunter, a role that didn't just announce her arrival, it demanded attention, signaling that a formidable talent had entered Hollywood. Yet behind the acclaim, her life was shadowed by heartbreak. At that time, she cared for her boyfriend, John Cazale, as he faced terminal cancer. His death left a silence in her world that no applause could fill. Remarkably, just months later, she married Don Gummer. But Streep never framed her marriage as a remedy for grief. Instead, she carried her loss with her, allowing it to seep into every role, every performance, every choice. As she once said, "I don't think I can separate what I've been through from who I am." It wasn't philosophy. It was simple, unvarnished truth. Our past is stitched into the fabric of our being, and it shapes us in ways both visible and unseen. Even at the height of superstardom, Meryl fiercely guarded her private life. There was no social media feeding the public's curiosity, no candid paparazzi shots of her children, and rarely a word about her husband. When she spoke, it was almost always about her craft, the role she inhabited, the story she wanted to tell, and the relentless pursuit of artistic mastery. And what a career it has been. Over 20 Oscar nominations, 3 wins, and a legacy that few in Academy history can rival. But the awards, as impressive as they are, barely scratch the surface of what defines her. What makes Meryl Streep extraordinary is her fearless commitment to challenge herself. She transformed into the grieving mother in Kramer vs. Kramer, embodied the tormented Sophie in Sophie's Choice, and became the icy fashion titan Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada. In each role, she defies categorization, refusing to be confined to one type, one genre, or one expectation. Off-screen, she is strikingly different from the towering figure she portrays. There's no grandiose display when she accepts an award, no over-the-top gestures at public events. She favors simple dresses, minimal jewelry, and speeches that are short, sincere, and focused. Always, she deflects attention, highlighting directors, co-stars, and crew members, reminding everyone that a film is never the work of a single person. This humility is central to her brilliance. Meryl Streep's genius isn't only in her unparalleled talent, it's in her quiet grace, in her ability to let artistry shine through others, in her unwavering dedication to truth in performance. And in watching her, we're reminded that true brilliance doesn't need to shout. It speaks, quietly, but powerfully, through the work itself. From the very first moments of her career, Meryl's ability to treat everyone around her with genuine respect became nothing short of legendary. Colleagues, co-stars, and industry veterans all took notice, often remarking on how effortlessly she combined talent with humility. Yet while the cameras captured her brilliance on screen, the private side of her life was carefully shielded from public view. She drew a firm, almost invisible line between the dazzling world of fame and the sanctuary of family life. Her 4 children were raised away from the media spotlight, attending schools far removed from showbiz glitz and glamour. Even when they eventually pursued creative paths, they did so quietly, with no reliance on the Meryl Streep name, never trading on her fame or exploiting it for publicity. It was a testament to a deliberate choice. Her family came first, always, untouched by the whirlwind of celebrity. This boundary she maintained was no accident. It was a product of conscious, unwavering intention. Meryl deliberately shaped her public image and private life with precision, demonstrating again and again that fame would never dictate her way of living. She resisted the temptations that often come with stardom. She never sought a sprawling mansion to flaunt her success, never built a personal brand to capitalize on her fame, and never launched a fashion line or high-profile product ventures. For decades, she lived simply in a modest, unassuming home in the northeastern United States, far removed from media hotspots and the relentless glare of paparazzi. Through it all, she quietly proved a striking truth. The true success is not measured by the size of one's house, the prominence of one's name, or the extravagance of one's lifestyle. True success can live quietly, deliberately, and powerfully, on one's own terms.